Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
We all have our own stories about COVID-19. The one thing I came to realize, most people came to realize, is just how much we really depend on one another. A lot of people had a lot of issues with mental health, just the isolation, and I mean, it hurt a lot of people, it really did, but we've really come to realize that we do need other people and we do need community. We need to be in community. The other thing that I think a lot of people came to realize, not everybody, and there were a lot of people who just enjoyed binging Netflix or whatever. They were employed people, had paychecks coming in. If you're self-employed, it's a whole different vibe. But the other thing that people realized was technology, and I think the pandemic and the ensuing lockdown pushed the whole notion of work from home, the whole notion of using Zoom and Teams, probably pushed it forward to a decade, maybe quicker. I don't know, but that's, it's just amazing how quickly people just latched onto it, and it's not difficult. You're not coding. You're just using something and all the applications of it. So I'm always interested in talking with people who their story. I mean, everybody has a story as to how they went through the pandemic. I get it, but the people out there that took the opportunity to build a community. And today I have with me Rodney Chronister. He is a retired Navy nuclear engineer. Thank you for your service, Rodney. And he took that career and he transformed himself into a financial and life coach and entrepreneur. His mission is to empower families, helping them to earn more income and achieve their financial freedom. Along the way, he became the founder and chief connection officer of coffeeconnect. And we're gonna talk on coffeeconnect and how that was born and how it's going and how people can get involved in it. But his passion resides around inspiring others to pursue their dreams and instill in them that their dreams are a possibility. So Rodney, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Frank. Good to be here.
Yeah, so I mean, nuclear engineer, were you on a sub?
I was on a carrier, actually.
Okay, all right.
14 of my 25 years on the USS Enterprise.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it's talk about community. That's a mobile community.
It absolutely is. I mean, they refer to it often as a floating city. To avoid all the myths, we do not have bowling alleys. Okay.
We have that big deck you can play on if it's a carrier. So there's probably lots going on there. So, so you left the Navy and you got into financial services. I guess run through your story and just the timing and where were you when the pandemic hit? You're in Loveland, Ohio, correct? So you're
Yes.
in Ohio.
Yep.
The pandemic or the lockdown hit pretty much the same day for us, and Governor DeWine just dropped the hammer pretty quickly. For me, at least, it was kind of like this thing that was happening overseas, and the next thing you know, it's on your doorstep. It's like, oh my God, this is real.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and it did. So 2015, I retired, right? I landed here in Loveland, in outskirts of Cincinnati, really working a reliability manager job. Not excited about working 70, 80 hours a week, right? And past about 6 or 8 months, and I was started looking for some other opportunities. And fast forward another year later in 2017, I found myself pursuing a career in financial services, right? And Took me about 4 months. I was doing part-time stuff before I just came to the realization that, man, this is where I love being. This is my wheelhouse. I love helping people, right? I want to see people succeed. And I just couldn't see me doing another career in engineering and really accomplishing the self-satisfaction, right? And gratification that I was having every day in financial services. So everything was going pretty well. I had hired a couple other reps underneath me, started training them, right? And like many, right, 2020 comes along and things were really looking great for us in 2020. January and February were some awesome months. And we had actually heard a little bit by way of the grapevine. I've got some friends who had a son who works at the firehouse. And so early on in March, we started hearing rumbles that things were probably going to be shut down. Now, at that point, we were actually planning a trip to New York because my daughter was supposed to march in the St. Patty's Day parade in 2017 or 2020, right? In March 17th of 2020. And about, a week later or whatever, it was the 14th or 15th or 11th, I guess it was, of March. And when Governor DeWine ended up shutting us down and stuff. So I think many of us were unprepared. We didn't know where we were going to go. And I did a lot of networking at the time and meeting of people. My life was spent around, I've got to engage relationships and not in a panic mode. But I that was my first thought was, oh my gosh, how am I going to meet people?
Yeah.
And so I reached out to 3 or 4 folks that I had already been networking with in a couple different groups and said, hey, I want to jump on Zoom with you guys, right? And my company was pretty fast to get us business accounts on Zoom at discounted rates, thankfully, right? And so we could do more than a 40-minute meeting, right? if we needed to. And
that was always
nice.
embarrassing, right? When your meeting would cut out on you.
Yeah. Oh, hey, we'll jump back on in 2 minutes, okay? And stuff. But so we got business accounts so we got through that, and then the 3 or 4 of us just kind of started getting together on a weekly basis, and it was really designed about, hey, let's where is everybody struggling? Where are you guys hurting? What's going through your mind? One, trying to keep everybody in the right mindset. That, hey, this is a temporary thing. It's not going to last forever, right? We will get through this, but you're not going to get through it by yourself. That's not the way to do it, right? And over a couple of weeks, we started figuring we should probably name this thing something, right? We should name this meeting something. And Coffee Connect didn't really come to us right away. I think we started doing breakfast meetings and stuff, and it was earlier in the morning we were meeting, and lo and behold, I'm like throwing this thing out there on LinkedIn, and a young lady by the name of Jennifer Beaumont joins us out of Seattle. Now, God bless her, man. I mean, it was 8 o'clock in the morning here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Meaning that it was really early in Seattle. And she was actually a presentation coach, and she was new to her business as well. And she was just trying to get engaged and network as much as possible. Right. And asked her, if she would be willing to come on and kind of give us all some pointers on this new 4-inch by 4-inch screen that we were seeing everybody in, right? Hollywood Squares or whatever you want to call it. And
right.
And she did. And so a week later she did, and we threw out her credentials and threw out a topic of how to present yourself better. And we went from 4 or 5 attendees to about 20 to 25 attendees in a week. And that's when it hit me that we should probably advertise something to talk about, because people don't want to get together just to get together, right? And so ever since then, we've had topics. We've grown over 400 and something people have tied into us the last 4 years. Actually getting ready to celebrate our anniversary here on March 31st, but the 26th, which is a Tuesday, that's when we do our meetings, right? At 10 o'clock in the morning on the 26th, we'll do our 4-year anniversary. And so looking forward to that. And really just this self-development, professional development, personal development type discussions, facilitated discussions, not lectures, right? To give everybody an opportunity to come in and just say, hey, here's my experiences. This is what I've learned. These are the things where I made mistakes, and this is where I want to get better. And hopefully point them in the right direction of either other people or other resources that can help them do that. And so that's what we've evolved to today.
Now you're getting, obviously you got somebody from Seattle. What other places were people coming in from? I mean, it's
Yeah. So that's been kind of crazy too, because obviously I'm thinking small Cincinnati,
yeah,
right? And then the next thing I know is we started having. So I'm originally from Lorain, Ohio, which is up around Cleveland, right? We started having some people from Cleveland tie in. I had some people from Connecticut tie in, and New York, and then Florida and Texas, and it was staying within the United States. And then something magical happened, and we had somebody tie in from Ecuador, and then somebody tied in from Poland, and then we've had somebody from England and India, and so it's been kind of crazy. It hasn't been restricted. I mean, I would say 95 to 96% of the people have all been within the states. Vast majority of them probably within the Ohio region, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana region, because I'm down here in Cincinnati, right?
yeah.
But it's been awesome being able to reach out to other folks. We were in my daughter again traveling with all her stuff that she was doing, right? Ended up going to Boston last year, and because we've had such a great conglomerate of folks tying in from the Massachusetts and Connecticut area, right? I definitely took a day to be like, hey, I got to go have some lunch with these folks, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they poured into me, and I value their friendship more than just on Zoom. And so we went and had some lunch and had some drinks together. And I think that's when you start to talk about community, right? I mean, it's nice to be tied into this picture, right? Or into an audio, but man, being able to shake hands and give each other a hug every once in a while is a good thing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's um, you realize really how small the world is and how much we all have in common. Especially when you start talking to people in other countries, and realize, talk about culture, and yeah, there's probably things to culture and people celebrate different things. If I'm talking to somebody, I've a friend over in Estonia, do you guys do like Groundhog's Day? And they have no idea what that is. But they have their own thing. But at the end of the day, many of us have kids, and a universal axiom or construct of having kids is they drive you crazy. It's not an American thing. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just, kids, if kids are going to grow, they're going to kind of challenge, they're going to push boundaries, and
It's a
not do things.
byproduct, right?
It is. And you just start to laugh at those things because you realize, okay, yeah, you know what, we're really not that different. We're really not.
No, we're not. We're not. I think we're all here. I think every person, every human, right, has inherently some vision of a purpose or reason for being here. And I think most of us have a greater understanding that, hey, that's not going to happen if I just do it by myself, right? That it's going to take more than just me to do what I want to do. And creating those relationships is where it gets you, right?
Yeah. Now, I think I know the answer to this. I don't want to put you on the spot, but doing this Coffee Connect, I assume it's led to business. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, out of necessity for my business, I wanted to create it, but I also was like, hey, listen, I don't want to get around and talk about finance all day. That's
Right.
First of all, I mean, I'm a nuclear engineer. I don't want to talk about nuclear engineering all day either, right? I never wanted to do that. So I just tried to create an environment, right, where people felt open, comfortable, right, welcomed, and non-judgmental, right, about things. And I mean, I'll be telling you, like, if people go back and watch, we have a YouTube channel where they can watch some episodes, right? I think you would realize that people probably share stuff in Coffee Connect that they normally would not share in a normal networking event. And
Right.
you can call it good, bad, or indifferent, whatever you want to call it, right? But I'm a firm believer of letting people know exactly who I am, not hiding anything or whatever, right? And I think also having the ability to open up about conversations, right, has allowed people to relieve stress and just let it go, and they can move on to the next thing, right, instead of having to harp on a circumstance or something that maybe isn't doing them justice anyway or giving them any kind of positive movement forward, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I find that the sense of community, people think of networking, they think of business. I kind of went with that question, and I think it's great you got business. That wasn't your primary intent. It was a wonderful byproduct. But people think of community networking as getting business, but there's just lots of other things that people get. And you kind of alluded to it, peace of mind, to say, okay, hey, we're in this together. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm stuck in my house too. And, if you're in Florida or a warmer state, March, April, you're outside. In Ohio, it's a crapshoot. As we're recording, it's March right now. The weather's decent, but it's still not, I'm going to go out and grill tonight kind of weather. We're probably about 6 to 8 weeks away from that to be able to rely on that. And so that was the tough part of the lockdown for a lot of people. It's just, I'm stuck here.
Yeah. I would move around a lot, right? I mean, I would broadcast from my office here in a more professional setting, right? I would broadcast from my bar down in my basement. I've got a tiki bar out by the pool, right? I mean, I would broadcast and literally was hoping to create an environment that people felt like I was literally inviting them into my house, because that's what it was, right? I wanted them to have that openness. One of my mentors when I first got into the financial services industry, right? They're like, quit trying to sell products. We're in the people business. I mean, he would yell at me, right? Right. And it took me a little while to understand that, right? That listen, it's not about the products. It's not about all of that. I'll make money when I make money. I'm not worried about that, right? All that's a byproduct, I think, of building good relationships, right? And I've gotten business and I've gave a lot of business, and hope we can keep it going for another 40 years.
Yeah, no, it's well, I think your boss is right. I mean, it is, people don't like to be sold, right? They just don't. And if you try, you almost disqualify yourself.
Yeah.
At some point, you need to close the deal. You need to, okay, or they're interested. It's got to move to a point, but you want it to move to that point very casually and to a degree on their terms. And if you push it too quickly, you're gonna poison the well.
Yeah. Hey, Frank, I want to share something, if that's okay, with something you said earlier about the technology piece, right? That about Zoom or about the pandemic and stuff, right? And I think one of the things, as great as what it was for us to open up this technology and be able to see each other, right? It got me thinking about one thing, right? How much technology are we introduced to that we're not using to the full capacity, right? I mean, I started thinking about this when we started doing Zoom meetings back in 2020. Call me silly, right? And I was like, man, there's stuff on my car that I know it's there. I just ain't never used it and don't know how to use it. And and it inclined me to go figure out some things, right? To make my life easier, right? I mean, and my car is a great example, right? But there were so many other things in our life, I think, technology-wise, that we weren't using. For me, it forced me to go figure out how can I fit those into my life and the things that I do, and help me along the way, right? And hopefully others did too. I mean, I don't want to feel silly by myself doing that.
No, well, the other thing I was going to point out is that the other wonderful thing about networking is just the sharing of information. And hey, did you know you can do this? No, I didn't. Because I mean, let's pick computers, right? Or we're all using about 10% of the capabilities. But the 10% you're using is different than the 10% I'm using. So if we got together and showed, hey, here's the 2% that I use that you don't use, and I did the same, then we're both enriched, and you just continue to do that, and you just find more and more stuff. And I refuse to be that old codger that says I'm not going to learn anything. I want to continually be learning. And I was telling somebody the other day, I said, I'm all over YouTube, putting videos together and getting them up on YouTube. And, 4 years ago, I had no idea. I, had somebody here do it for me. It was this great mystery. And it's really not, if you just take the time to spend 30 minutes and try and figure it out.
Yeah. Yep. Editing videos might be another topic for another day, but
Yeah, well, it's a lot of it's just getting the software. Once you have the software,
yeah.
and that's, I just started asking around, hey, what do you use? And people suggested things. Well, let's shift gears. Let's talk about your business. You're a financial advisor. I certainly, welcome you to share about that and who you're looking for, who you're looking to help, how people can get a hold of you. How can they get a hold of Coffee Connect? How can they jump on this thing?
Yeah, so I mean, for Coffee Connect, I think the easiest way, right, is to email coffeeconnectinfo@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If that email, if you send an email to that saying, hey, I'd like to be added to the group, then we can get you on the invite list, right? And you'll start getting the weekly invites. The other way to get a hold of it is through LinkedIn. People can connect with me, Rodney Chronister, on LinkedIn. I might be the only Rodney Chronister on LinkedIn. I don't know if I am or not, but there probably is not too many of us in Loveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
And connect with me there. And we have a group on LinkedIn as well that I can get you invited to, right? And I post the weekly invite information on the Coffee Connect LinkedIn as well. And from there, when you get either the email or the LinkedIn, right, you'll also get access to the YouTube channel, so you can go back and you can go check out some of the past episodes and stuff like that, and figure out who you might want to meet from those episodes, because there's some great people on there. As far as my financial services business, right? I mean, I'm an independent broker here in Cincinnati with Primerica Financial, licensed in life insurance, investments, and mortgages. And I'm not, as I mentioned earlier, that it took me a little while to learn that I'm not a product person, but I am holistic in what I do. And so first and foremost, I love educating people and teaching them just really simple concepts, right? I was successful at teaching nuclear physics to 18 and 19-year-olds. And I think I use that same simplicity to help teach financial concepts and management to adults today, because most of us haven't learned those things over the years, right? And so education is first and foremost. Second thing is Frank, we put together complimentary plans, right, for every family that we sit down with. And I'm a firm believer that if somebody can see where they want to get to, it's so much easier to get there, right, as opposed to just spinning your wheels and trying to take classes. I met with this young man today. I said, listen, if you went to the University of Cincinnati and you said, hey, I want to take this degree, and they told you, well, just keep taking classes. We'll tell you when you got enough, right? We'll tell you when you got enough to get your degree. How long would you do that before you just gave up and said, I give up?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But because they said, hey, in the next 4 years, do this, right, and you'll have your bachelor's degree, it's easy to follow that path. And that's exactly what I want to do for families, is show them from point A to point Z what they need to do to achieve their goals financially, retire when they want to retire, right? And do the things that they want to do. And so from that perspective, they can get a hold of me on Rodney Chronister, www.primerica.com/Rodney Chronister. That'll take them to my website, and they can reach out to me there either by email or phone.
Sounds great. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for your service. Thanks for starting Coffee Connect. There cannot be enough community out there, and keep up the good work.
I appreciate it, Frank. Appreciate the opportunity, and look forward to tying into some of the things you got going on there as well.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today, and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.